Hello there. My name is Mark, the Canadian Jedi, and this is episode 103 of Holocron Chronicles. I'm joined, as always, by my trusty co-pilot through this galaxy, Charlie Carden. Charlie.
Oh, hey, didn't see you there. How we doing? Happy
Just
Monday.
Dancing away.
Yeah, you bet. And
Monday.
plugging my program. But if you're not watching us on YouTube,
Yep.
The Facts of Geek Life is a wonderful program that I will talk about in a moment.
It is, yes. How's your day going so far?
Good.
We're a day away, like
right.
almost exactly 24 hours away
right.
from knowing how this whole season, potentially series, we don't know if it's renewed for season 2 at this point. So
yeah,
Skeleton Crew wrapping up.
You know, it's interesting, and it would require a bit of a dive, and we'll do it for our next episode to find out how the series has fared by what I consider to be the most reliable metrics, which we didn't have in the old days of television. But in streaming, they record minutes. How many millions of minutes was the program watched? And so we'll know if this has rescued Star Wars from the doldrums that it hit last summer with the Acolyte. Mm-hmm. Good or bad, it was poorly received. People didn't watch it. So everything I hear about this show, people absolutely love it. Highly rated on Rotten Tomatoes. I think it's in the 80s or the 90s, like people digging it. However, does that translate to actual watched minutes? That's what we will find out. I would say before the next time we come, before all you fine folks and talk about it, we'll have some hard data. So I will commit to looking into that. But yeah, I'm fired up. April and I just blasted through all of the episodes again yesterday. I think we started yesterday,
Nice.
Either that or late on Saturday. Because if you think about it, 7 episodes, roughly 30 minutes each. Some are a bit longer, some are a bit shorter. So that's putting together 3.5 hours, even less than 3.5 hours to blast through it all, which we did, so that we're totally prepared. Not that it's all still pretty fresh, but yeah, I couldn't be more excited. I have enjoyed this show so much. And then, we're going to be talking this evening about episodes 6 and 7. And then our next episode will be the big wrap up for the finale. So I'm totally fired up, but before we get to that, let's talk some business, and we do have some special announcements as well before we talk a little bit about a news, and then we talk about episode 6 and 7. So as I always like to say, when we're getting the program rolling, we have a little portion called Paying the Bills. But really, it's a pleasure to do so because we like to talk about our Secret Friends Unite Patreon Super Squad. If you visit patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite, you can try out our Patreon for 7 days for free and then stay on board for as little as $2 a month. What does that $2 get you besides an enormous amount of entertainment for $2? Ad-free shows, early shows, tons of bonus content, including a little program I like to call The Facts of Geek Life, where we take a program, usually in the genre space, we take a season of that, handful of episodes, and break it down. Eventually, Mark, I think you'll be my guy to talk about some of the Disney Plus MCU shows. We got to lock down the time.
Sounds fun. I've been rewatching them all, so that sounds
we
like a good
we
good
did
plan.
as well. Literally watching the Falcon and the Winter Soldier upstairs before I came down here because Captain America: Brave New World comes out in a month, so we want to be totally prepared to watch that. So fired up with that. So I can't give you Agatha and I can't give you WandaVision because I promised those to April, but the rest of the shows are all like Loki. I know that was one of your favorites. We'll get that going.
I like them all. Like Moon Knight, get me on for anything. I'm down.
Yeah, we'll do it. We will set it up. But all right, those fine folks who currently are part of that, my buddy Derek Trevelyan, the figure dude, nice lady named Francie who does my wife's hair, Luke Lohr, Mr. Xbox Expansion Pass, and my awesome Uncle Tim Horan of South Haven, Michigan, all support us. Also, John Sedorf, the Phoenix Sisters Entertainment, that would be our friends Kelly and Crayley. A little bit more about something Kelly's got going on in a moment. Brendan Myers, Korean HD, the boss of Boss Rush, awesome dude. We all of us are contributing to a
Yeah.
project he's got coming out here in the very near future.
Really soon.
Yeah, next week, I believe. Matthew Keel, my buddy Kurt Krug. He not only is a great fellow who provides us with a lot of introductions to a lot of the folks that we've interviewed on our Spotlight program lately, where we focus on genre, superstars, creators, and so on and so forth. Kurt did also have a tragedy in his family. His older brother passed away very suddenly. And I know that he's being laid to rest this week, so we want to give all of our love and respect to Kurt. Solid guy. His brother, it was very sudden, broke his leg and complications. He passed away from it, so it's very sad. And then finally, a new addition to the family, Tanya Lee from down in Alabama. She recently joined us over on Code 47. She's a Trekker, but also a Gen Xer and someone who loves Star Wars as well. So as a tribute, as a perk, when you become a Patreon, you get your very own Star Wars race as assigned by us. So, Mark, I don't know if you've had a chance to listen to the content that Tanya created with us, but I'll give you a snapshot. Tanya is roughly my age. She's a Gen Xer. She's a woman, obviously, with a name like that, though you never can tell. Enjoys genre stuff. She is a writer, and she is also an educator in the IT tech space. So she's a very learned individual. Based on that, just using the Force and doing what your heart tells you, a la Shami's last words to Anakin. What Star Wars race do you think fits the bill for Tanya?
Hearing writer and someone who's great with stories, I'm kind of like bouncing back and forth between a droid, because we've seen some great droid storytellers, Huyang, C-3PO, educators, almost the writers. There's that theory that Star Wars, the entire saga, is being told by R2-D2, his memory banks.
Because he's been there, yeah. The whole shebang bang.
So a droid as a storyteller, I'm feeling that kind of connection, or some like maybe like Chiss, potentially something that species that's big on art and culture and gathering what they can and then kind of making it their own. As we've seen with Thrawn. I could go with either one of those, but Chiss have been painted in kind of a bad light thanks to Thrawn, so I'm kind of leaning more towards like droids, because I love droids. A little bit more.
Yeah, you never get good Star Wars without a great droid, so absolutely.
That's right. Like one of my son's favorite things, like the only thing he wanted for Christmas was Hulk hands, and he's been loving those Hulk hands. His second favorite gift, something that was like last minute, was a little chopper droid. And you move its head and he beeps and bops and boops depending on which way you move his head. So he's absolutely loving that. Chopper has been living in every room of the house, has been following us around and beeping and bopping, and he just comes everywhere with us now, which is great. So I feel like I have this little goblin Ewok chasing me around with a droid in tow. So I love droids. I've always loved R2-D2, and Huyang was a key part of one of my absolute favorite segments or arcs of the Clone Wars, which the young Jedi getting their kyber crystals and building their lightsabers. Instrumental in Ahsoka. I kind of want to say droid.
Okay, I love it. I'll make mine lazy, but I think poignant. I still think she's a human being, but I would actually, I would attach her. And again, I'm going to kind of cast her in the light of a character, or even potentially a job. The character would be a little bit older than she is. But I'm thinking Jedi Temple. I'm thinking the library. I'm thinking about Jocasta Nu, someone who is learned in all things in galactic history, master of this library of knowledge, this repository of education that is unmatched. Just like an educator, just like a great storyteller. But she doesn't have to be Jocasta Nu, because Jocasta Nu was an older woman. She could simply be herself, adorned in Jedi robes, wearing a lightsaber merely for show, but her main function is to provide knowledge to all those who seek it, which I think is a very noble application. Jocasta Nu, or rather yet, Jedi librarian of any stripe.
Yeah, and I mean we've seen oh man, Seer
Mm-hmm.
in Jedi Survivor as
Mm-hmm.
kind of like that role, and a younger person doing that. Spoilers, skip ahead 30 seconds if you haven't played Jedi Survivor. Meets a kind of grisly end. But is that's that, you know, Cal is going out in those games and he's the Jedi that wants to rescue people, get the path kind of going, like do the Jedi thing that you think is like a
Yeah.
Jedi Knight, going out and doing missions and that kind of stuff. Where Seer is more building that knowledge, keeping that knowledge alive and archiving everything and creating this amazing Jedi archive, or recreating this amazing Jedi archive.
Yeah.
So there have been other characters that have done that aren't
Yeah.
as maybe cocky as Jocasta Nu. I want to
Ooh, yeah,
say
she
probably
really
one of my
she
favorites.
did have that moment where she was like,
Yeah,
"Well, it's not in the archives and any
yeah.
shit." Yeah.
Although she did shoot a lightsaber rifle at Darth Vader, so you got to give her some props.
Well, yeah, it's not to say that she didn't have her, but and I think
Yeah,
she kind of paid for it with her life, or maybe not. I can't quite remember how that wrapped up, but I get the feeling it probably wasn't great.
I don't think it went well. Yeah,
But yeah, definitely have the comments. But anyway, so Tanya, welcome to the family. Glad to have you on board. Lastly, wrapping up these fine folks. Without them, I just don't even know that we'd have a viable Patreon. That would be the exceptional Nias family of the Twin Cities, Sean, Stella, and Henry. We're very grateful for everything that you do for us. Again, patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite. 7 days for free. As little as $2 to stick around. And as I always love to say, quoting the Blues Brothers, that's a lot of entertainment for $2. So we do have some additional news. We actually have two pieces of
yeah,
additional plug. I mentioned about our awesome friend Kelly. She is very active in the charity community in the genre space. She runs something called the Multiverse Fun, F-U-N, no D, Multiverse Fundraiser, which is happening here very shortly by the time you listen to this. It's a virtual Comic-Con and charity fundraiser all rolled into one package. This year, they are teamed up with Comic Books for Kids, a charity providing child-friendly comic books to children in hospitals and cancer centers across the United States, and raising funds for that purpose. On January 24th through 26th, that would be next week if you're listening to this when it comes out, they will both have pre-recorded and live music. Live music. Oh my goodness! Live Comic-Con style content to include celebrity, comic, and writing guests such as Creek Wilson, Leia Williams, Jerry Gaylord, John Casper, and more. Please visit the Multiverse Fun, F-U-N, Raiser, the Multiverse Fundraiser.com for more instructions and how to both tune in and to contribute. So check that out.
awesome.
And then finally, as I'm sure, we're recording this in mid-January of 2025, if you happen to be listening in the distant future. Right now, within Los Angeles County, Los Angeles, California, they are under siege through a quirk of nature, a string of wildfires that have engulfed the city and claimed, as of today, 24 lives and over 12,000 structures. I have been talking with a podcaster friend of mine, John Champion, who works for the Roddenberry Archive, so really the official folks in the Star Trek space for podcasting. And he has offered to put me in touch with a gentleman that I've met before. His name is John Billingsley. He is an actor from Star Trek Enterprise. He played Dr. Phlox. We actually interviewed him on our Patreon right when we were getting started 2 years ago.
Mhm.
He is very active with the Hollywood Food Coalition, which provides support even under the best of times for Los Angelinos who are in need. Amongst, I'm sure, many places you can contribute, but if you visit their website, It's HOFOCO.org. There's instructions about how to donate. We will have more information on this as Mr. Champion is able to connect me with Mr. Billingsley. You'll probably be able to hear it directly from Mr. Billingsley himself. But again, HOFO co.org to contribute to that. So my goodness, that's a lot of extra, but yeah, we want to, again, we want to give love to Kelly and her charity efforts, and then certainly to Mr. Billingsley for his efforts to help the poor people of Los Angeles and everything that they are suffering through right now.
One of the times I really don't mind Star Trek being mentioned on the show. I'll give
glad
you
to
this
hear
as a freebie. That's
all right.
No, it's absolutely worthwhile. If you didn't catch those links, I will try my absolute best to remember to put them in the show notes. If I haven't put them in the show notes, DM me and I will send you the links, and then edit the show notes to make sure everyone can follow. Because sometimes I have those little forget-ems.
Same
when
here.
I'm throwing the show up.
I'm very, very bad about our show notes. I will absolutely home up to that.
So if you're listening and it's not there, remind me. But otherwise, make sure you just click those links, follow through the show notes, or jump over in our Discord group, because all the links will be shared there. We'll share everything, and it'd be an easy way to find stuff. And then stick around and you can chat and have fun. We cover everything in our Discord group, and that link is always in the show notes. So
absolutely,
it's a win-win right there. Tiny little bit of news this week before we jump into Skeleton Crew. Charlie, this is another one that you caught today. There's a new comic series coming out.
Something new on the horizons. I was visiting Argos Used Books and Comics. That has been my comic shop since 1986. I was 10 years old when I moved into this very house when I was a child, and discovering my burgeoning love for comic books, which started with Marvel's first Star Wars series back in 1982, issue 65. I have a copy of it hanging upstairs on the second floor, and I was about to rattle off the Galroth Never Forgets. Look it up. 1982, Star Wars issue 65. And that was before I ever moved to Grand Rapids. But I discovered the shop, which recently changed hands in the last couple of years. It sold from Jim, who was the owner for many, many years. He retired and sold it to a lovely couple, Crystal and Roger Haight. Wonderful people, locals here in Grand Rapids. And April is on a tear collecting Stephen King books right now. I was on a tear right now collecting old trading cards. Comics I read are digital, which Roger always gives me a hard time for, and rightfully so. But usually, and it was Crystal who was in there when we stopped in on Saturday. Usually I will grab a copy of Marvel Previews, which always shows you the comics that are coming out in 2 months' time, gives you the chance to pre-order them, which I did digitally. But something really caught my eye in so much that the ongoing regular Star Wars title has ended as of recently. I did purchase the last issue. The volume 2 of the current Marvel run covered the time period, the 1-year time period, arguably, between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. And we got, that series reached its natural conclusion. And now we are branching off into more mini series and different time periods, both post Return of the Jedi, but not quite Mandalorian. And I know there's a Kylo Ren saga coming out, and they're looking to do some different stuff back and forth. But this series in particular, and it appeared reading it that this is potentially an ongoing title, is simply called Jedi Knights. Beautiful 2-page splash. It looked, Mark, I sent you a snapshot.
I saw it. Yeah,
but
I have it right up in front of me.
Yeah, it looked like a kind of a bifold, maybe painted, and it is clearly set within the prequel era, potentially pre episode 1, because
absolutely
it says
episode 1, because Qui-Gon is right there next to Yoda and
Yaddle,
and Yaddle's Mace on the other page, but Mace Windu and Count Dooku, still a Jedi.
Ooh, that's going
rocking
at least
right next to Qui-Gon Jinn.
That's going back probably a decade prior to episode 1, I'd say.
No, not if Tales of the Jedi is to believe.
Oh, you're right.
It was
same time.
Very close by. That all went down. Dooku going down the dark path, was that was after Maul, right? That was
when they showed
He
that
was
clip
he
in
was
the
kind of
Tales
the
of the
next
Jedi,
one.
he was at the temple for what was a uh, for when the news came in,
Yeah,
and I think well, we're having his ceremony on Naboo, which we saw at the end of episode 1, and I believe that Dooku was so dismayed at that time that was when
that's
he
his turning point.
left. He
Yeah.
had a meet, or he was starting to have his association with Sidious, and
Yeah.
Yaddle followed him, and the conflict that came with that took place at that time. So I jumped in right away,
Hmm.
and did go over to Comixology, which is part of Amazon. Sorry, and I did subscribe to the series. However, Mark, you had mentioned you're planning to visit your local comic shop at some time in the
Yeah.
very near future,
Yeah.
so you're able to tell your local comic shop owner, hey, I would like to subscribe to this series, add it to my pull box. That's something that most comic shops will do,
Yeah.
usually for free. Often there are perks to signing up. You get additional discounts. I know at Argos, if you're part of their Argonauts, which I always thought was cute, you save 10% on any purchase, which I like. But
Yeah.
I always love to talk about the fact that I grew up in a small business. My dad was a small business owner. April and I both pursue small business passions. I do this podcast. April has pursued various, projects, kind of throughout her career. So I strongly believe in supporting small business. Now, we all
Hmm.
admittedly use big business, Amazon, Best Buy, Target, Walmart. You know what? Sometimes we feel good about it. Sometimes we don't, but you always feel good when you support a small business. So
For
if you
sure.
enjoy comic books, if you like what I'm talking about here, find a comic shop in your neighborhood. Go introduce yourself. Make some lovely friends down there. But yeah, I'm excited about this series. Like I said, it sounds like it's ongoing. It does have a drop date of March of 2025.
Hmm.
So for all I know, when you're listening to this, it may already be out. It may already be canceled. I have no idea, but you'll definitely be able to track it down one way or the other if you go to your local comic shop. So whether it be in single issue, trade paperback a few months down the road, or a digital collection as well. But yeah, visit your local comic shop first. That's my plug. I'm excited.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm gonna ask about this because, like you said, I do have to go to our local comic shop here in Sydney. It's the local NPC is kind of the main go to comic shop of choice for me and I think for most other people around here. Um, One interesting thing about this, and the like you said, 2-page spread, it specifically says first issue in the prequel era.
Okay.
That to me is giving the potential that this could possibly be a comic book version of Tales of the Jedi. This could
Anthology.
jump around. This could
Yeah.
be anthology stuff just covering Jedi Knights. So we already mentioned in the show we could see an episode or a couple of issues or an arc on
Mhm.
Cal Kestis. We could
Right.
see this go back to High Republic, Old Republic. We could see this go Luke, Ray. Like we could see this
Yeah.
jump all around and tell little individual arcs, little individual stories, anthologies, whatever about Jedi Knights.
Yeah. Yeah.
We could get a little bit more of Quinlan Voss doing the
The
underground
path.
stuff,
Yeah, the
doing the
path,
path.
right?
Um, this this could really really go broad. They might completely make this, I could be wrong, they could make this a prequel to the prequel trilogy kind of thing
Yeah.
of here's what happened 10 years leading up to when Qui-Gon found Anakin on Tatooine. Like that could be
Yeah.
it. There could be 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is. But because they pointed that out in that 2-page spread, Jedi Knight #1 first issue is in the prequel era. That's really making me wonder if they have more planned for this outside of
Yeah.
here's these characters in this prequel era. Of course, that's a great time, and we
Right.
haven't seen too much aside from like Tales of the Jedi leading up to what happened in that kind of prequel era or pre-prequel era right beforehand.
Mhm.
Um, but I also think that could be really freeing for this series that if they feel like, yeah, you know what, I think we're kind of tired of following Mace around for a couple of issues. Let's pause that. We can go back here. Let's tell a quick story about this person or this group in this time, and really have some fun with it and show us
Yeah.
some Jedi that we haven't seen or haven't seen enough of. So like I think this could be a super exciting series
Yeah.
full
Absolutely.
of like lightsabers and action and stuff that
Hmm.
Jedi Knights get into. So I'm looking
Totally.
forward to it. I'm definitely
Yeah.
going to start asking about it when I go into the comic shop.
Good
I have to
deal.
pick up the new issue. We talked before we started recording. I need to pick up the new issue of Aquaman. So
It,
um,
there's
that's what I'm heading in for
yeah,
tomorrow.
always something fun to find at your local
Yeah.
comic shop. So anyway,
Yeah.
well, let's end this local comic shop commercial and get
Yeah.
back to talking about the Skeleton Crew. Oh my God. Two
Woohoo.
episodes. Yeah, this was ending 2024 and then beginning 2025.
Yeah.
Two great episodes, very differently. So we'll probably discuss them separately.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm ready to jump right on in if that works for you.
Yeah. Let's go.
All
Start
right.
with episode 6.
Episode 6 is
And go
called
from there.
Zero Friends Again, which you're like, well, really, what does that mean? We have the exceptional Bryce Dallas Howard, voice of Yaddle, handling the directing chores. Young Joan Westner, not familiar with that name, could be a creative on the show, is handling the writing from December 31 of 2024. Jod and SM-33 are captured by the pirates and Pocket, aka Merida. The pirates take Jod and SM-33 back to Brutus for execution. Meanwhile, the children drop out of Renaud's lair into the bottom of the resort. Ugh. KB reveals she's memorized Atton's coordinates. A subsequent argument over how to reach the Onyx Cinder results in Fern and Neil trying to ascend the mountain while Wim and KB follow a group of seemingly benevolent trash crabs. Pretty cool. Jod saves himself and SM-33 by bribing Brutus with the location of Atton. Midway, KB's cybernetics suffer a malfunction from the environmental corrosion, forcing Wynn to fix them. Fern and Neil recover the Onyx Cinder to save their friends before they are devoured by the carnivorous trash crabs, not so friendly after all. Soon, seeing the ship is pinned to a garbage machine, forcing the children to purge the hull, revealing a sleek, very Nubian looking vessel as they depart Lanupa. Dun dun dun.
Yeah.
There we go.
Awesome episode. Bryce Dallas Howard, she never misses.
She delivers.
Any episode
She's
she
got
directs.
it.
Just give her a friggin' movie at this point. Like,
well, yeah,
Lord.
I think it's going to happen. I mean, she's part of what feels like the inner circle of creatives, you know, in this current franchise. So yeah, I absolutely love this. Without a doubt, characterization. We got some good character moments here. I feel like we started the series seeing it through the eyes of the boys, or what did Fern call them? The gross boys or something, you know, she had some Star Warsy expression described like basically, you know, gross boys or something when she was spoken with KB, but you got to see an honest disagreement between friends of, you know, Fern saying, well, I don't really see any other way to do it except for X. And KB says, well, just because you didn't see it, does that mean there's not another way? And then it blows up. So it's just some underlying tension. It was a very human moment between two human characters who are, you know, tweens, preteens, that much like a lot of Star Wars does a great job of, and a lot of like Ron Moore's Battlestar Galactica, which Peter and I talk about on the Facts Geek Life. And Mark, that's a show you've never gotten into, and it's a Canadian classic, right? You've never really watched it. My God, bro, seriously. They find ways to make those characters feel very contemporary by having them have some contemporary interactions or feelings or stuff. And that was probably my favorite part of things. It just felt very like, you know, you could tell that KB feels very isolated. We don't know much about why she came to be in the physical state she's in. She was in some kind of accident, which caused a big portion of her body, certainly her head, her brain, to be augmented by very Lobot-like technology, where she has a little visor thing, and she's got the thingy around the back, which we see a little bit of because Wim has to, you know, he has to kind of do that thing where you're pushing it in and it pops out and mess with it a bit. Some pretty cool moments. Yeah, some
Very,
critical moments there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved, like you said, a very character heavy moment, like the development of all of the kids, showing that they can disagree, showing that Neil doesn't always have to follow whim,
Mm-hmm.
even if he's a little reluctant, and he can push himself and he can do things, and Fern can slow down a
Mm-hmm.
little bit because she has to for Neil. But on the flip side of that, you have KB wishing that Fern would slow down for her and saying, since the accident, Fern doesn't really recognize that maybe there are some things that aren't easy to do, which I thought was a great little message about accessibility and that kind of thing for I don't having friends growing up that were disabled in some way or injured in other ways and that kind of stuff. That one really resonated to me of like, you just sometimes you do have to slow down and you have to consider that and you have to um, have those conversations of and for me especially, sometimes I'm like go 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 go, very Fern-esque of like, yeah, we can do this, we can do that, and sometimes you have to kind of slow down and be like, oh yeah, maybe we should think of another way to do this or think of something else that we can, another way to solve this that kind of includes everyone. So the inclusivity of this one was really front and center, and I did like how they played it both, and they set them off in the different pairings. We've seen up to this point Wim and Neil just be like that, and the same thing with Fern and KB. So it was great seeing them kind of swap buddies,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
each of them kind of learn things that apply to their usual buddies, but because they were kind of forced to swap sides, as it
Right.
were, they kind of had to slow down and relearn that with someone new.
Yeah.
So I thought this was so great. I will admit I fell 100% hook, line, and sinker for the trash crabs.
Oh my gosh. They
I
were
was thinking
so charming. So charming.
very Ahsoka-esque, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they were those little rock guys in
Yeah.
Ahsoka that led Ahsoka
We
and led to
we just watched this
Ezra.
Ahsoka last weekend, watched it again. And again, that's an easy show to just very easily rewatch. And the little rock guys, the main guy wears that cute little vest. I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, exactly. And those guys turn out to be good. These rock crabs,
Yeah.
not so much.
And
So yeah,
they
looks
were
can be
giving off
deceiving.
such vibes of those things. I was like, they're
Right.
going to lead to some little Ezra character. We're going to
Yeah.
see someone fun. We're going to see someone
Right.
cool. Maybe this is where Hondo comes into it. Hondo's working with these little crabs. They know we've seen other pirates at this resort. Maybe this is where Hondo like hangs out, and he's
Right.
I was thinking anything but giant crab monster
Right.
at this point. And so I would have gone that way and completely been, with women KB,
Yeah.
confronted by this giant crab monster.
Right.
Oh
boy.
But I thought it was great, and I loved, Jod in this one. We saw him threaten the kids, as we discussed on the last episode. I really thought that was him maybe trying to protect the kids, saying like, I need to be the captain because if shit goes down, I don't want anything attacking you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Other pirates, something with Smee, some kind of booby trap.
Right.
I thought he was being a little altruistic in a mean way, but I thought, again, I discussed last time, I thought it was a show for 33. I thought it was like part of this trick, this Jack Sparrow-esque. Turns out maybe he's just a dick.
Yeah.
We'll discuss that in a second.
Yeah. Big time.
But in this episode, I still kind of thought there were some Jack Sparrow vibes of like, he's captured. He gives this speech about go with me, find this. We're going to find the treasure, blah, blah, blah. Don't mutiny. Like very, very strong, like Jack Sparrow vibes. Don't kill me yet. I might know how to solve this.
Right.
We saw that in Pirates of the Caribbean. You can't get rid of me because I know who you actually need
Right.
to cure this curse.
And if you kill me, you'll never know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So very big. I was still thinking at the end of this episode, like, okay, maybe Jod is just a sketchy Jack Sparrow that you don't always know his plan. His plan's going to serve himself, but
Yep.
he's also not a complete dick. Let's get into episode 7.
Absolutely. Yeah, right. And segue right over. So the kids are safe and sound above their ship, and this is what's going on. We're going to be in so much trouble. Name of the episode. Lee Isaac Chung handling the directing chores with a plotting by series creators Christopher Ford and John Watts, Mr. Spider-Man, from Jan 7 of 2025. The parents, we start. This is great. The parents, we see them in the woods back home, release a transmitter into space while all simultaneously getting zapped by stormtrooper style stun guns. But yeah, they send this off and are discovered by the droids, as I said. The pirate ship has arrived at Atten at the same time as the Onyx Cinder, resulting in the latter's capture. The pirate Glurb is sent into the great name, like in the Glurb in the Clurb, is sent into the barrier, but a ship is destroyed by its defenses, which is what they are there for. Realizing the Onyx Cinder is the key to bypassing the planet's defensive barrier, John kills Brutus when the children incapacitate him and resumes his former captaincy, telling the pirates to conceal themselves until he obtains the location of the planet's vaults. The children manage to use the pirate code to get SM-33 to turn on Jod so they can escape. But he stows aboard the Onyx Cinder, decapitates SM-33 with that nifty Guardian-style lightsaber that I really want, and threatened the children into silence, which was very scary. As the security droids are questioning the parents, the supervisor, April loves talking about the supervisor because she knows that it's just a droid, is heard announcing the arrival of a Republic emissary. Jod poses as said emissary to gain access to Atten's vaults. The children are briefly reunited with their parents as Jod walks out of the vault, and with the Youngling Slayer 3000 lightsaber engaged, we fade to black. Wow.
Jesus.
You're right.
Man,
there's a hell of a lot going on.
First off, I want to say that lightsaber is available.
Oh,
I'll send you a link.
Okay.
I know at least one shop that is definitely going to have it.
Okay.
Which is the newly rebranded All Sabers.
Okay.
Formerly Nerd Armor.
I'd love to see it. I would personally be more excited to grab it from Disney because it could work with the blade that and the yellow crystal I already have. That would be great. So because they did, Disney shops did produce the Guardian saber briefly about 3 or 4 years ago, and it's history. You know, they like to tease me by leaving it on the website, but it is not available, which really makes me
say
mad.
Most of the recreation sabers, like Gunji's saber, you cannot use a kyber crystal with. So your yellow kyber crystal will be no good if they actually do recreate like Jod's saber. It will be a single color. Like if you pick up the Cal Kestis saber, it's blue, and that's why I was disappointed because I wanted a Cal Kestis saber with yellow or with orange.
Yeah. Right.
Because that to me was kind of like the one that I used in the game. But anyway.
I mean, the good news is my saber, which of course if you've heard me talk before, dear listeners, April and I visited Galaxy's Edge almost a year ago. We did build sabers, and my assembly is probably as close to a Guardian saber, which is what Luke yielded for a brief period of time between Empire and Jedi in the Marvel comics. And that is a character that I wanted to reproduce, but if not, really been able to get my hands on said saber.
Anyway, I will send you that link once I see it.
Please, yes, I will. Yeah,
I know
I'd like to check it out.
And if I jump the gun on that, although I was talking to one of the guys from there yesterday, and he mentioned it and didn't say that I wasn't allowed to talk about it. So, I apologize if I spoke too soon, but that's going to be there. So whatever. Anyway, yes, love the parent sending a transmission, being like, just come home, doing everything. Damn, those droids are accurate. Which is going to lead into something later.
Right.
because you know what? I'll just jump into it now. How the hell is Jod going to get off this planet with a planet full of those super accurate droids that could hit these parents dodging through trees and
50 feet away in the dark? Yeah.
That's some like next level, like stormtroopers ain't hitting those shots. Like
right.
Mandalorians aren't hitting those shots. Like these droids are deadly. And if they turn from stun to kill,
right.
Jod's toast.
Yeah, if they go full Order 66. You know, it is so, and it was funny, Axtra pointed this out when we were talking about the show on SFU, which is out right this week's episode of Secret Friends Unite, which is out right now. And I've quipped this for years. Tech in the Star Wars universe has barely changed in the 150 years of continuous chronology we've seen. We're getting the feeling that At-Aten is a refuge from the days of, they say, the Republic, but it's also referred to by folks outside the barrier as the Old Republic. That could simply mean, well, we currently are in the New Republic era. The Empire was between this era and what we referred to the Republic in the past. So potentially, we don't know how long At-Aten has been on lock. Is it 100 years? Is it 500 years? We don't know. You know, if you were to look at the ship style, and it is revealed at the end of the last episode that the hull that surrounded the Onyx Cinder was a facade. And once it was shed, the vessel appeared to be very much on par with the Naboo cruisers that you saw in episode 1 and in subsequently in the prequel trilogy. Does that mean that At-Aten and all the other subsequent planets, of which At-Aten is kind of the last planet standing of the 6, because the other ones were plundered and destroyed, is that the time period where this grand experiment was designed and executed? You know, when I think about the fact that they keep referring to the funds as dataries, and then Qui-Gon, when negotiating with the Toydarian guy in episode 1, Anakin's slave master, Watto, says, I have 20,000 Republic Daktaris. He refers to the currency as, could it simply be a different pronunciation? Could it be a different variety? I mean, we have different names for currency on planet Earth, you know. Could this simply be a different variety? So I'm really interested to find out, and maybe this will be, I hope it's not one of these, we're planting crumbs for a potential season 2 that we don't get, because what if you and I go back and look at the numbers and the show is doing worse than the Acolyte? That's what I'm afraid of.
I will say, anecdotally, I have been watching, because Disney Plus will do that thing of like the top shows this week, or the top watch kind of shows. Through the holidays, this was a pretty consistent like top 3 to 5 kind of thing. A lot of times, and it bunches in movies and shows.
They do that on Netflix like, too. Yeah. So
Home Alone was like, you know, jumping up there. A lot of the holiday stuff, especially like over the holiday, we're jumping up into those number 1 and 2 spots. But this show was consistently at least in the top few. And since the holidays have ended, this show has shot up to number 1, competing between number 1 and 2, I think, with like Wolverine and Deadpool.
Which is
they're kind of
recent release,
swapping back and forth from what I've seen. Again, anecdotally, when I'm in there and I remember the look. But
and I'm hopeful I
hope that's good.
Yeah. I'm hopeful, and I'm also hopeful that that's not marketing. Like, hey, watch this thing. That it's genuine. Like, these are real numbers, and this is really posting well. I mean, a simple Google and we'd know it, but you know, we don't need to. You know, that doesn't really make for great radio if we're doing our research bot while we're doing it. But yeah, I things, you know, kind of from this that I'm hopeful to discover in the finale, which again will be out by the time you're potentially listening to this, so you may have already seen it, is how long has this been going on? What was the game plan? You know, were they just going to be were these 6 worlds going to be the Fort Knox of the Republic forever? Was there some kind of plan that, you know, if they hit, you know, were they on a countdown clock of years, and when they hit 0, they were just going to declare themselves? Because whatever it is, however these were set up, it escaped the Empire's knowledge. It was not recorded in such a
Yeah.
fashion that Palpatine could get his hands on it.
Yeah.
I was watching a breakdown video today from Eric Voss and New Rockstars, which is a channel both you and I pay attention to, and he postulated that what if what happened in this episode led to funds from Ad-Atten being eventually plundered and stolen and somehow ending up in the hands of what becomes the First Order? What if that's what caused the Sith fleet to be built? That, yes, we may not love the Rise of Skywalker, but it is canon, so you have to treat it as such. And there were 1,000 Star Destroyers in that fleet. Where did that money come from?
Yeah, that could absolutely fund either the First Order or more. I think more in line would possibly be the Final Order, like Palpatine's fleet of ships and that kind of stuff. I could absolutely see that happening. And we see this era of shows constantly rewriting, just like the Clone Wars did, of justifying things that have happened in the sequels.
Right.
Mandalorian's been a great example of that. Mandalorian tells its own story. Of course, it's focusing on Din and Grogu and their story, but there's always that thread in the background of why do they want Grogu? Who wants Grogu? What are they trying with this? And the whole thing has been pretty blatant that it's leading up to cloning Palpatine and getting him back.
Right. So the end game, as it were.
The end game. Exactly. So if that's what Mandalorian has been all about, this happens around the same time as Mandalorian, in that same kind of time frame.
Right.
We're just seeing, I think you're onto something here. I think we're seeing those threads again of something happens with this planet. Jod is going to shut the things down so he can escape. He's going to shut that fake storm down that takes out all the other ships. Something's going to happen that then, we're going to see some craziness happen of like, this isn't going to the New Republic. This isn't going to where we would hope it would go to. This is going to the First Order, the Final Order, something nefarious. And I'm really curious. You know what? I'm just going to jump in right now because we're pushing up on an hour. Jod in this episode, like you said in the description, beheads SM-33 with his lightsaber, threatens the kids, brutally threatens the kids in a way we really haven't seen since Anakin. And even I think maybe more brutal than Anakin because Anakin cut away.
Yeah. And
it was implied.
Right.
In the prequels, it was implied of like, Master Skywalker, can you help it? And then, the lightsaber ignites and it cuts away.
And he's not smiling when he's doing it. And then even when we go to Mustafar and he's cutting down all those separatist leaders at the end of it, he's gazing out at the firefalls and with tears streaming down his cheeks because he knows that he's lost. He's lost the fight. He's evil now. Where Jod is just, he sucks. He's always sucked. And he is potentially in a position where he's just going to slaughter a group of civilians and children so that he can, get a forklift and make away with some of this treasure in the Onyx Cinder because it's the only way that he can escape is on that ship.
Well, and the weird thing is they say he's an emissary or whatever. They announce him as, Republic emissary.
Right.
Like, he could have probably just loaded the ship up and said, I need to take these. This is part of my mission.
We're making a withdrawal. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And just took off. But something at the end made him threaten the kids and the parents and go right back on that. How do you think this is all going to end? Because we've seen Jod, like I said, I don't think there's coming back from this. Like, I don't think there's any redemption arc for him. He's not going
to be like, kids, I had a big change of heart and I lit the lightsaber just to get your attention. And I'm going to leave all the money here. Let's all get in the ship. We'll fly up through the barrier, launch a bunch of missiles and destroy the pirate ship. You're right. He's going to do something terrible, but Ad-Atten doesn't really have ground defenses except for all of those droids. We don't know how many there are. Maybe there's just the one town and there's like 100 droids. But also, Jed is not an experienced Jedi where he could be like Obi-Wan or Yoda and just, if there was 100 of them coming at it, he'd just be like pushing them and chopping them and doing flips and shit.
Some Ahsoka shit. No, there's no
he's
way.
He's very low key. Hey, I picked up a couple of things here and there. I mean, even when he swung the lightsaber, it was one chop and he took Smee down. Just meow.
Yeah, there's no flourish. There's no skill. It's just
a guy swinging a stick.
Knowledge.
Yeah.
There's enough knowledge that he's deadly with it. He's dangerous with it. He knows how to wield it. He knows what it is. But there's no Anakin, Cal, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan level skill there. He hasn't practiced this in a long ass time.
Right.
At all. It seems like he's familiar with it though. So I think he does have some training, and I think that'll be revealed.
Right.
But yeah, he's fallen so far and so hard.
Right.
I am very curious. And as we saw at Akron or whatever.
Akron, Ohio, the tire fire.
They've got some big guns on that planet.
Yeah. Because it appered that
ship's not going anywhere.
At Akron, and you would assume the other 4 planets were it's a biodome. They're planned communities that are literally exactly the same as each other. The buildings are in the same places. The houses are exactly the same.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, it's like Lost in the Dharma Initiative. That's what this is. Right. They set up, the Swan and the undersea one and the smoke monster. And there's all this like planned community shit going on. I hate to say that they're giving us all these breadcrumbs, like, and all this will be answered in season 2, which the Acolyte did it in a way that was like, I will say this. Skeleton Crew has given us a great story and given us the potential for more, but we'll know in 24 hours if they can deliver on a complete story, that even if they say, we're going in a different direction, we're not making any more of it, that we can still say, my God, I love that story. I'd love to see more, but you don't get everything that you want. But you're not left hanging so much that there was nothing that came out of it that you truly loved, which, sorry, personal feelings about the Acolyte, me and all the other people that didn't watch it, that they didn't give me something that I could say, hey, this was great. It was a complete story in its own way. Like, something happens in the last few, like, they're like, we wrapped it up and the pirates went away and we're just going to continue. Like, all the pirates die, or they throw Jod into prison and they still manage to keep the secret of AT-AT, and nobody ever finds, and they're able to just continue living their lives. Yeah. I'm hoping.
So one thing that I will say, so John Watts and Christopher Ford already revealed that they do have an idea for a second season.
Part of a plan.
They've got part of a plan. However, they did explain that they would solve the kids growing up, a potential delay in seasons, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So here's the exact quote. We 100% have an idea for a second season and know what we would do. We have a built-in ticking clock of the kids and their age.
Yep.
And by the time we get production going, we'll know their age. So we would be writing towards that.
Right. So
we'll be growing up
3 years later,
kids.
5 years later. Yeah.
And literally that's the next sentence. It would be something like a 3 or 4 year time jump to make sense. We haven't seen the kids in the wild, so it just depends on how tall the kids are.
Right. You never know. Well, the only one they really don't have to worry about is Neil, as far as, his appearance changing. He might be taller. So
the last bit of that is we wouldn't do like a Stranger Things thing where it's like, it's the next day, because it definitely won't.
Because the kid is 5 years older. Yeah, like the African-American kid on that show, I can't remember his name, looks radically different from the beginning of the show to the end of the show. God. But him more than any of them, I think. Yeah.
So that, to me, the showrunners, the creators, knowing that A, a season 2 is not guaranteed. B, if it is, it's going to happen with a 3 to 5 year jump in time.
Yeah.
I don't think they're leaving anything unanswered.
Right.
I have faith. I've been burned before.
I hope so.
It's Star Wars, but I have faith in this show that they're going to answer the questions that we need to have answered. Mm-hmm. Maybe they'll set up a little breadcrumb or two saying like, hey,
Yeah.
I wonder if there's other hidden things on this planet, or hey,
Right.
I found another map, or gee, I wonder if that story's true. Fade to
Right.
black, you know, like that kind of stuff. But I think
Right. And it's very hopeful that, John Watts came forward and said, we have ideas for season 2, not like, well, we've got, this is going to lead us right into season 2. They didn't,
exactly,
because they're not saying, well, it's definitely a cliffhanger, because the arrogance of, I keep dragging the acolyte. This will be the last thing I say. The arrogance of thinking, well, we didn't give you a complete story, but you'll have to come back for more. That sucks. That sucks. That is guaranteed to piss people off. It didn't matter anything else that they did in that show. That and that alone makes me never want to go back for a rewatch, because I'm so pissed off by the hubris of it. You know what I mean? Have a great show and earn it. Earn it. Like Andor.
Yep.
They came right out and said it was going to be 2 seasons, but let's say they didn't. That show was so fucking good. Oh my God, we watched it recently. It's one of the best things that Star Wars has done, bar none. It's the best Star Wars
rewatch.
And you need to before season 2 in April. But while that show is a little longer, it's 12 episodes of 45 minutes each. It takes you a little bit longer, but you can still knock it out in a couple of weeks. It's the best thing they've ever done, and that, to me, would earn a second season, but to me it would earn a third season, which they've not announced, though I have no idea if that's going to go down. But incredible.
The third season's Rogue One. The second season's going to time jump. So
you're right.
I don't think they're doing a third.
They can't do a an epilogue where it's just Scarif is a dust planet and you see they're like after you see their skeletons hugging. Can't really pull that off, but
45 minutes of skeletons hugging.
Yeah, exactly.
Just pans around for a little while,
and someone just says it's
screensaver.
It's the best Star Wars I've ever seen. Yes, absolutely.
I really need to rewatch, because I found Andor was tough to get through. I know it ended on a strong note, but I found it was a slog, and could have probably been cut down to 6 to 8 episodes.
I have found that
boring.
All of the Star Wars shows are a lot easier on subsequent viewings.
Yeah.
Book of Boba Fett, I will finally give it some credence. If you watch it and just consider it to be part of the Mandalorian, it doesn't make you mad the way that it did the first time around.
Right.
Because the first time around, it was.
Well, that's how I watch it.
It was very insulting to have it like that. But if you just watch it between Mando season 2 and 3, totally fine. So anyway, yes, I can't wait for our next episode when we get to have a fully blown out, not only analysis of the last episode, but talking about the series as a whole. I can't wait. I'm very excited.
It's going to be good. Do you want to give any thoughts about like how this is going to end, or are you like, because I'm asking this question and I have no idea. This show has surprised me at every single turn.
You know what? And I think it's very rare in this genre world in particular that you can feel a show can give you real surprises. Oh my God, I didn't see that coming. When everything is so predictable, like, there's a fight and the hero falls down and the villain stands up over them with a saber or something and a laser bolt comes out and shoots them down. And you're like, okay, well, we knew this character wasn't going to get killed or whatever. But, like when SM-33 gets decapitated, you didn't really see that coming, because you saw Jod grab the lightsaber at the end of episode 6, and you didn't see it again until that moment, or at the end of episode 5. And then he tucked it in his boot or put it up his butt or something. I don't know, but the pirates never found it. But then he got his saber back, and then so this show has done nothing but delight and surprise, so much so that I don't even want to go in to having more expectations of what this might look like. I just want to sit back and at 9:37 tomorrow, 24 hours from now, Eastern time, as that episode is wrapping up, I just want to be completely delighted, having no idea of what's coming my way. I'm just looking for the delight. That's all I want.
Absolutely. Me too. I can't wait.
Yep.
We'll see in 2 weeks how it all wraps up.
Yes, absolutely. Cool.
All right. Well, that's about it for now. I want to tell people
Yes.
where they can follow you and find you on the internet.
Absolutely correct. Oh no, we flip flopped. Why don't you do it first? Here, I'm going to take control. I'm taking back manager.
You left me silent for a second. I was like, maybe I'll just jump in here and do it.
I'm taking back subordinate control. I just didn't want to jump in if you were like, and by the way, yeah, folks, that's the show. Thanks for joining us, Mark. Where do people find you out there?
You can find me on Instagram. I don't even want to say TikTok because it might not exist in a week.
That is true.
So I'll say just like Instagram and Threads and Blue Sky as Canardian_Jedi. Actually, on Threads it's a dash instead of an underscore, but I'm still there. And as always, hanging out in our Discord channel and chatting all the things.
The Discord is hot stuff. I'm very active on our Secret Friends Unite Discord, and then also the Discord that I started with April, United Trekkers of Michigan, which is just a fun place to talk about Star Trek. Doesn't matter where you live, but we had to call it something. But you can find me on the triumvirate of Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky as the C3 at the C3 TheCeeTheHree. I also lurk on TikTok, but I don't really post any content because it's just not my scene. But I do like to scroll. That's how I'd like to have fun. But yeah, we would love to see you there. Do check the show notes for the multiverse fundraiser, and then for also links to the Hollywood Food Coalition to help the wonderful folks of Los Angeles County in Los Angeles, California. And with that, I will bid you adieu, friends. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring. And to keep on trucking.
May the force be with you. Rex, play us out.